All right, so today we'll be discussing a little bit of an MSI preview, taking a look at, of course, the top teams at MSI going in, IG, SKT, G2, and some of the wildcard regions as well. I think we're not supposed to use the term wildcard anymore, but, NA, LMS, Brazil, just a little tiny bit of, come on, NA. They have earned their wildcard spot, I feel like. I know they're meant to be a major region, but it's not even ironic that they've been moved down to Pool 2 because, their performance internationally is not great. Despite their players, you could argue, are better than some of these teams in minor regions. They always, at every international tournament, find a way to lose to one of them. And they've never been that good, so... But yeah, I think starting off is the easiest thing to talk about. It's just IG coming into the tournament, just because get it out the way. World champions coming in, looking really strong in their performance of the LPL final. How do you feel about IG? Do you think they're going to win straight up?
Well, with all the pretenses aside, I think IG is the clear favorites. They have strong individual talent on their team. I think that we've already seen strong competitors from other teams like Caps, for example, lose to Rookie, Wonder lose to the Shy, and it's the same team coming in. So they have their Worlds experience. This squad has been together for much longer than any of the other teams.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, any of the other top teams here, for sure. The issues I have with IG coming to the tournament, though, are that this might not be their meta coming in. Mm-hmm. Last time was a perfect storm. If you follow LPL from 2018 Summer Split, IG actually didn't look like the number one team going in. Like, everyone was talking about RNG.
I want to say third they finished, right? In the regular season?
They finished third. Yeah, I think wait.
They might have finished lower. And
no, they finished... I think they finished third or second, because I remember that they lost in semis spring split.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might have made it to the finals in summer split. Regardless, they were in the top 3 of the summer split, and everyone was talking about RNG in their miracle run year. So I think that if the MSI meta shakes up to be something that's less conducive to solo lane dominance, then we might see a lot of turmoil, and IG might not show up as hard as they did, because we saw the best IG in playoffs at last year's Worlds.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Granted, I think that the meta is not. I don't know if it's changing from solo lane. Solo lane carry maybe. I think that they're playing MSI on 9.8, which is the patch with Nautilus buffs. I definitely expect to see some Nautilus, whether it's jungle or top, or even support. But then again, I don't know if Nautilus fits into that support meta with Galio Tomcat right now. Either way, I think IG are, no matter what, even if they come in a little bit weaker from meta shifts, they're still definitely going to be like a top contender team. I definitely expect to see them in the semis at least. Because Jesus,
you just got to be top 4 out of the 6 teams who make it to.
Yeah, so
group stages.
There's no way I can't see them finishing like semis finals, no matter what. Which, moving forward onto that, thinking about their matchup, maybe their hardest matchup between SKT and G2. Obviously, the 2 teams that are already in the pool 1 with them, which would be, I don't know who I'd give the edge to. We've seen G2 match up against IG. In fact, did we see the matchup against IG at Worlds? Because G2 beat RNG that year, but they don't. I think they were
G2 IG with semis.
That's right, and I believe G2 got wiped. It was a 3. I want to say 3-0.
It was like an 80-something minute 3-0. Yeah. It was kind of painful to watch.
It was not great, at least for G2. But G2 have significantly upgraded their roster since then.
Yeah.
Significantly upgraded their macro and the way that they naturally play the game. With they no longer have an AD carry that has to pick Heimerdinger every game. Now they
my lord.
Now they have an AD carry that can occasionally maybe play I think what is Perks is most played this season on at least on actual AD, because he's still playing majors.
I would give the most credit to his Xayah, but I don't think that's his highest play rate, because that's usually a funnel AD carry.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. He doesn't really stick out on any specific AD carry, I would say.
For some reason, my brain's thinking Kalista, and I'm not sure if I've even seen him play Kalista. I have no clue why I'm thinking that, but
There was definitely a period where people were playing Callista Galio in the bot lane, so it could have been him, or they could have been playing against him.
Either way, their general, like, coming in, their mid laner is now Caps instead of Perks, and which is a minor upgrade, but definitely an upgrade in terms of pressure on the map and shot calling, and generally the insights we have from Caps being able to like have some nuts macro, like managing his entire team. And then Perks is still in that team, so you've got like two superstars. The team's experienced at international, especially against IG, and it's the same team, so they have a bit more knowledge coming into this time. Maybe they can actually take some games. But then you look at the other side where you go, oh, but also SKT could just very easily beat this team. This is just maybe one of the best on paper. This is the best Korean like super team they've ever made. Even better, I'd say for my money, even better than the KT roster team that was made just the last year or the year before.
It was like the Def Mata, Hukal, Score, Smeb.
Yeah.
Yep.
And granted, this SKT lineup is only looks on paper stronger with recency bias, I'd say, because you look at Smeb and then you go look at Khan and you go, oh wow, of course Smeb's better. But when Khan pops off, Khan is pretty nuts. And then, I mean, Klid is an unknown commodity, but he's played fantastic. So
yeah,
and then obviously Faker and Teddy is nuts, as we saw in Teddy was when he was on Jinna. Teddy was crazy. That man was carrying that team to 6th place. I believe that's what
that man had such huge training weights on him the whole time. I've
heavy.
Never felt so bad for a professional AD carry in my life.
Yeah, I think that he totally deserved to be on the top team after that performance, no matter what. Like, there's no way that you don't look at that man and go, oh my god. It just sucks that Jinna lost him, because I actually like Jinna as a team. Jinna is really good. I'm so glad they did.
Did you see that post about how Jinner got like all these teams to like scrim with them? They brought in the whole squad.
Yeah, dude, glad I'm so like Jinner. I mean, I think it's really the glad playing meme, and then also they had Fly and like Gank by Mom from back in the day, where I'm like, damn, what a great team. But unfortunately, not here. Still in LCK.
More maybe fortunately for Korea,
but still in
LCK.
LCK. They're managing. But yeah, and then I guess I don't know who would you favor? Like, I want to say G2 from looking at like, they've played IG before, and it's not that I think SKT can't beat IG, but I'd rather, in my heart of hearts, as a European, I'd be like, I think G2 can do it. I think G2 could be the team to take IG down this. I mean, they both could, but if I had to choose one, I definitely want to put my heart on G2. But what about you?
I would say that if we're talking about G2, like the chances against IG, I would actually put a little bit of an edge on G2, because while SKT looks insane on paper, Khan has honestly never shown up internationally. You've seen him on Longzhu or Kingzone, depending on which split it was, and he's just kind of always played subpar to like the Khan style of play. Klid is a known commodity, and I think he's really great in Korea, but you also have to keep in mind, Klid was getting bodied by IG last year in Summer Split. He was a JDG jungler before, so he's not like some unknown factor. He grew up in the LPL. He grew up getting his ass handed to him by like Karsa or MLXG or whoever. So there's like all those little things where like he's being super aggressive on like Jarvan or Lee Sin in the LCK. He's already known. Like they have him downloaded already. Faker and Rookie, we've already seen them play against each other back when it was KT Arrows versus SKT in 2015 or whatever, a long time ago. And Rookie could handle him, like way back when Rookie was fine. Like, I don't think Rookie is necessarily a better player than Faker's peak form, but I think Rookie, even with his slightly shaky results this split, he's got a chance. I think that they would handle each other fine.
Yeah.
And then the bot lane, I think Teddy Mata are better than Jackula bot lane, but not by such.
Hard.
Yeah, but I don't know. But Jackie and bot lane probably won't int a whole series away. So on the other hand, we have G2 who has a lot more versatility this year. They don't have Hjernen and Wadid in bot lane. Like both here, I don't even know where Wadid is anymore. And Hjernen's like on a challenger team.
I think he's on Rogue. And Hjernen is.
He is on Rogue.
Hjernen is in EU Masters. Yeah.
Yeah, EU Masters, and he's not
Rest
even
in
looking great in EU
peace.
Masters.
Oh,
So like, can you imagine how hard Perks, Yankos, and Wonder had to carry this team? Like, yes, they did look out. Like, granted, they did look outclassed in the semifinals of Worlds last year. But if you've ever played ranked before and you have a very like a side of the map bleeding out, the jungler's ability to focus on your lanes goes way down because it's predictable. You have to camp for Hyun and Wadid if they're against Uzi and Ming or
yeah.
whoever in bot lane. So I think that with the experience they have against playing against this iteration of IG, they'll be able to draft better. And this version of G2 has so many more play styles that they can run through. You don't ever know. Like IG's strength is they can draft Jace or Ryze, right? And you first pick it, and they can go mid or top, and you don't know. And it'll be super viable either way. But so can G2. G2 can pick all their power picks. They can play it in 3 lanes. They can play Vladimir every lane. Well, I actually don't know if Wonder still plays Vlad, but I think he does.
I would like.
And
I hope that he would, at least if
I mean, it fits
necessary.
his style, right?
Yeah.
And they can play a Kali, they can play everything, and basically every lane. So their draft diversity is so much stronger than last year, and their individual talent can match pound for pound. It really comes down to, can Caps overcome his rookie problem, and can Wonder show up against the Shy? And if they can, I think that G2 just has a much better chance.
Yeah. I guess one other thing to keep in mind is Mickey X is probably not going to be playing all of the MSI games. Or if he is, they don't have that much practice coming in on Chaos Solo queue or even in scrims. And then you move Promise Q into the team. And although removing the whole, Promise Q is a choker, Promise Q is bad kind of idea, even if Promise Q was a serviceable support at average level, is the Perks Promise Q bot lane able to put out the same level of necessary pressure and to exist in this like very volatile game with IG? And I feel like no, but one would pray that Promise Q becomes the best support in the world overnight. Core JJ did it.
Core JJ did do it. He was on Dignitas.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an AD carry, but he didn't take long to get to his support.
I thought that, and is a tangent, but the year before Samsung won Worlds, where they were playing Wraith over Core JJ, and then they subbed Core JJ in, I thought they were crazy because Wraith was, I believe they played Wraith in most of their regular season games. Wraith like dumpstered the playoffs with like Nami, who I'm pretty confident wasn't even meta at the time. Like, I was like, are you serious? You're gonna sub out? You're losing games because Ruler's like ending back at the time, and I'm like, what? What is happening? And now Core JJ is.
They took their Ruler was like a rookie back then too, and then they just like took on their NA import.
It's like, oh no. But
role swapped AD carry.
But that's Dignitas world champion, by the way. So
Dignitas world champion, by the way.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of Promise Q, even the issue though is that even if Promise Q gets to the level of Mikyas, or like let's say theoretically somehow he becomes like a world class like top support, they don't have that synergy either. They don't have that like you saw Perks and Mikyas have a little bit of growing pains at the beginning of the split for LEC, and they like really got into sync. When they got into sync, they were looking really strong. But Promise Q doesn't have that international experience. I think Mikyas was on Splice, I would like to say, before.
I don't remember.
Oh, what was he on last
year? I cannot remember
for
the life of me.
Yeah, but he was like, he's at least gone to an international tournament before, I'm pretty sure. And he has a lot more experience in Promise Q at a higher level of play. So I would like to do more of the conversation on like, peak G2, because like, as much as I would like to look at broken in shambles G2 bot lane, I don't.
Well, they don't even want to win
it's
MSI,
just,
right? They're saying, MSI doesn't really
they're
matter.
saying, like,
they want Worlds, which is fair. It's a completely understandable idea for a team. But it's certainly unfortunate to think that a decrepit version of G2 is coming to this tournament where they very easily, if in peak form, could win this tournament, and they're not going to. And then, although it's not, even though it's almost a half a year away, it's to think that if you lose that MSI and you could have won, like if you win it, you come into Worlds feeling so much better, you look so much stronger. IG would be shaky in games against you, as opposed to now where they're gonna, if you lose in the final and you match up against IG at Worlds in like even in quarters, then you're gonna have mentally you'll have such a hard time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It really sucks to be G2, even though they're gonna try and shake it off. I think it's very hard for them to mentally as players as opposed to as an organization come out on top on this one.
Yeah, like you can see with like Double If and NA, for example, like when he got bodied by Uzi, like it didn't matter what team he surrounded himself with, like he still remembers the
Yeah.
experience of getting bodied by Uzi. He still talks about it to this day. He's like, as long as Uzi doesn't go to MSI, I think I'll be okay in bot lane.
Poor
Like
Uzi.
it didn't matter that he got a super team around him in like TSM, for example. Like it. So I'm worried that if even if G2, like they shake it off, they get third, fourth, or even if they get to the finals, but they get bodied, like maybe that will have lasting mental damage into the final, into Worlds
Very easily could.
This year.
Which is, but
Yeah, but that's for another show.
That's basically just like pray for Europe because they're this close, but
Yeah.
Team Liquid, I guess we should talk about
my hometown team
before we move all the way on to talking about some minor regions, because it would be really BM to leave them all the way to the last.
It's true.
What are we thinking looking at Team Liquid? Because I think that I don't think they're gonna do poorly. I don't think that they're like a bad team coming into this, and stylistically they certainly have maybe not an edge, but they're not pushed out by meta. I don't think that the meta is against them. Although maybe looking at top lane, if Impact isn't going to play like the Aurelia and the Akali, at least he maybe picks the Nautilus. Maybe he's got a little bit of the tank buffs coming in on patch 9.8. So kind of save a little bit there. Yeah, I see them still losing to G2 more than likely. Obviously, IG and SKT. So I don't see them beating any of the top teams. Maybe one game in a best of one. And I see them losing to Phongvu Buffalo as well from Vietnam, because that team's actually much better than you'd expect. So but their best bet is to beat any of the pool 2, pool 3 teams, and then I don't know, like I can't really in my mind see how they have any chance of going any further than what you have to win. Are they going to get out of groups?
Well, we can revisit this topic once we discuss the other two teams who will be in group stage. Our prediction for it, but I would like to make the case for Team Liquid. I mean, huge disclaimer: I am a Team Liquid fan for life, from like back in like 2008, 2007 StarCraft 1 days. So it's a long time coming, but I would say that, not like my Liquid bias aside, I would say that their chance comes a lot with the predicted playoff meta or MSI meta that I think is coming in. The patch upon patch of buffs to jungle, or not to jungle, to tankier playstyles, I think might lead to a meta shift when they hit the MSI patch and they're all playing together, screaming each other.
Yeah.
Where Ornn just got massive buffs, like true. Forge Fire Cape, it's like 150 extra health, extra armor. Iceborne Gauntlet's like 20 extra armor. Like I looked at all the stats, I'm just like, why?
It's absurd. And Ornn got buffed in 9.6 as well. So
yeah, he got buffed in 9.6, and now like I'm playing him in jungle randomly just because he's fun, but he's so strong right now. And Ornn is traditionally that pick where like your opponent first picks Jace, who was the meta king for most of the playoffs for most regions. And you just pick Ornn, you absorb the pressure. That's one of Impact's like best champions. Although the Shy can also play it, but it's Impact's one of his best champions. He could probably absorb pressure from Khan. I don't think he could absorb pressure from the Shy. I think the Shy will still body the hell out of him.
Yeah.
But Impact does play pretty well internationally. I think Smithy's a smart jungler. I feel bad that for once every jungler on the other top teams are also at least as good, if not much better. I mean, it depends on which Yankos shows up. I think Yankos has a great team around this time around, so I think he'll be fine. And then I think Jensen should be okay, but we've seen him against Faker before. It's not going to be like, he's not going to do amazing. He's just, at best he's going to lose gracefully, or not lose gracefully, go even.
Yeah,
but
it depends on his picks. The thing is that looking at like the way that Team Liquid like to draft, and Jensen maybe understanding his own strengths, it's not unlikely that they could play the Zilean again, which is a really good Jensen pick. And it's you don't have to win the lane as Zilean. You don't have to win the lane as Lissandra. Granted, nerfed Lissandra, but still a relatively useful pick, viably. I mean, they could, if they're crazy enough, play Galio mid. That would be a takeaway from Faker. It's not. I don't think it would be necessarily what I would call like a meta pick, but it certainly would be like a good way to pull out like what could be like a cheese in a game one,
right?
Yet still be like relatively smart and not just randomly picking Talia Pantheon bot lane.
Dear
You
Lord.
know. So
Yeah.
that being said, I also think that Team Liquid, when they fall behind, Xmithy is really good. Like, that's probably when he excels the most, is that being behind is the time that he knows how to pull the game back.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's easy to count Team Liquid out, even though you look at their matchups and you go, oh, they probably lose to SKT and they probably lose to G2. They still have Double Lift and Core JJ bot lane, so let's be real.
I would say they're probably
G2
better than G2's bot lane on paper.
I can see even with Mickey X playing his best, if he played, Core JJ is still world champion. Core JJ Korean support. Double Lift is still, despite a big inter and likes to tumble in unnecessary skill shots and walk up to a Victor that's just like doing nothing and die. He's still better than Perks at AD carry because that's Double Lift's role. So I don't see
if this is like the Double Lift from last Worlds, I think that they have a good chance. But if this is the Double Lift from this playoffs, I think that Double Lift is not looking hot. He's literally getting his corpse is being dragged across the finish line by Core JJ. I think Core JJ, except Mata, I think Core JJ is probably the best support here. Like you would have to make an argument between the two, but I just think Core JJ is insane right now.
Especially if you look at playoffs. Holy crap, he played so well at playoffs.
He should be the MVP of this.
Undeniably. It's absurd that they look at his KD and go, oh, what a bad player. What?
Double Lift. I'm sorry, Double. You don't get it this time. This just doesn't make any sense. But so I the other brief point I would want to give for Team Liquid is also the veteranship. Everyone on that team is super seasoned. Like every one of those players have been around as long as Faker, except for Jensen and Core JJ. So I guess 3/5 of them. Yeah, but that
relatively though, they've still been in they've been to international tournaments and stuff. So it's only like a year and a half away from Faker's existence, right? I think.
Yeah. So for the most part, I would say that this team probably won't tilt too hard. SKT's strength is that when they fall behind, they can at least rebound pretty well. They did have, if ignoring the disastrous finals, when they were falling behind to Talia Pantheon cheese and shit like that, they were able to stabilize and capitalize off mistakes. And I think that Liquid has a similar style. That gives them a bad matchup against SKT, but it could give them a good matchup against some of the more creative picks G2 might want to come out with in a best of 5 series. However, I don't think they'll win the best of 5 series because G2 can just switch gears or just straight up win lanes. So I think Liquid is going to make semis. I would probably say it's they're 55-45 against some of the play-in teams we'll talk about later. But I think Liquid's still looking like they deserve their spot there. I just think that unless Jensen shows up like he did in the Africa series last year in quarters, that form of Jensen I had never seen before in an international stage. But that form of Jensen, if he shows up,
that was
maybe Liquid can make a run.
That EU challenger. So
this man was taking Kuro and making him look like a bottom 3 mid laner. And Kuro is a good mid laner. I was incredibly surprised.
I think that the LC playing Korean solo queue is a great buff though, because the irony is that the NA teams look particularly weak both in their playoffs and then coming into every tournament, and then you see them at least Cloud9 every year goes nuts, and I'd argue that the big reason is because they play Korean solo queue, they scrim the Korean teams, and they go, we're excellent players at adapting, but there's not much to adapt to on NA's solo queue ladder. There's just nothing. It's just players.
There's just a bunch of one tricks, so you just play against the same shit every time.
You go up against Tyler 1 in lane, and you're like, oh damn, I wonder what he's gonna pick. Oh boy, I get to play against Draven, and then you just beat him, and you go, I guess I'm just a better player. No, no one's. The solo queue mentality over there is a bit of a mess.
Yeah. So this time they're going to be in Southeast Asia and Taiwan. So I don't know if they're stuck to those servers though.
I believe that every team is bootcamping in Korea first.
Okay, so they'll be bootcamping in Korea, but during the MSI, will they be able to access the other servers? I don't know the restrictions down there.
Yes, because the servers are so close to each other.
Yeah, LMS practices in Korean servers, so at least when they're there, for sure.
You'd expect, because you see loads of Korean players rank 1 on servers, and the other way around, Vietnam has.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think they'll be able to practice in Korea. So that could be a buff for Jensen. I mean, like diversity of like playing on the ladder. I think he's a great player. I just think that honestly, until like the last two games, maybe 2.5 games in the playoffs, he also showed like he does have mental blocks.
Yeah,
like I think when he
100%.
plays against his demons like Bjergsen or Faker, I don't think he'll show up as much.
I wonder what
Have we ever seen Jensen versus Caps?
I don't believe so. I also don't think we've seen him against Rookie, so it would be interesting to see. Like I feel like Rookie's gonna body him, but at the same time, I would be really interested to see how he like approaches that matchup, because you know the first time you fight someone that's like way better than you, usually if you're competitive and you have a drive, you go, oh, I'm just gonna give it my all and beat them. And if you start to get edges, once you like have that tiny bit in your brain, like, oh, I can actually beat them here. I'm not as bad as I thought I was. That can really motivate you to be much better as a player, like in the game immediately. So I don't think until he's matched up against him, I think it's unfair to write him off and go, oh, there's no way that he'll beat this player. Because, I mean, we thought Caps and Rookie were like both amazing, and it was like, oh, who's going to win? It really just comes down to like mental in the game. They're both still phenomenal. It's not like Rookie is like all the way up here compared to Caps. Like he just got he was better on that day. So
yeah. Also, Rookie's not last year's Worlds rookie right now. He didn't look amazing coming into playoffs, and he did look better in playoffs. But even in the finals, honestly, it was a lot of it was the Shy Show and Jackie Love carrying Game 3. I mean, like, okay, they won 3-0, so like
they did.
It wasn't like, you know, they had to face a lot of adversity. But
to be fair,
I'm just saying that Rookie's
I was gonna say,
not
be fair,
bodying everyone.
I think it's crazy that that Jackie Love plays as well as he does, because I didn't think he was. I thought he was really good, but I didn't think that he was like beating Imp in lane good. Because Imp actually showed up again this season for once. He was like, "Hey guys, I'm still a player. Remember me?" Oh, I'm really upset. I thought JDG would do good because they had the miracle run.
Yeah, they had the storylines, and then IG just came in and was like, "Nope." Oh. So maybe season 2. Maybe season 2 is the comeback story, but
he's hoping.
I mean, Imp went from like, I think I remember watching LPL, he had like the most deaths in lane with his partner or something like that at some point and then he like hit the end of the season, and then he hit playoffs, and he just like you just saw Samsung White Imp pop into the server. He connected.
He's back.
Season 4, yeah, and then he was just bodying like Mystic. He took down. Well, he didn't take down Uzi in lane, but he did well. Like I still think Uzi and Ming are probably one of the best duos in the world, but Imp was looking really good. I hope that JDG shapes up for next season. Doesn't end 8th seed, so they don't have to, run a gauntlet, show all of their cards before they hit the finals. But
they certainly did really well.
Jackie Love showed up. Jackie Love shows up at the weirdest times. Like sometimes he looks kind of boosted, and then sometimes he's just like
wow,
what was it, like 6-kill Draven or something early game in that last. Holy shit, that Draven was sublime. This man is
Draven. I think Draven might still be a permaban at MSI. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think especially with Conqueror,
there's a lot of Draven players coming in here. Actually, I believe, or at least more than you'd think. So
I think Teddy can pull it out. I think that obviously Jackie Love was a one trick. I don't know if I've ever seen Double pull out Draven in a game that was meant anything.
No,
in his career. I think he just hates Draven.
Probably. I mean, Sneaky's bodied him on it before, I'm sure. So
yeah, I've seen it. And then does Perks play Draven?
There's no. I mean, maybe. I don't think that's maybe. There's not enough mechanical intensity on Draven for him. I don't think he's like, I don't care for mini games. But yeah, but I do believe some of the minor regions play Draven. I think looking at watching a bunch of the minor region finals, it was really strange to see some of their drafts. Let me look through some notes. I have some.
Tell me about it.
So, which game was I looking at where teams were just playing Aatrox on 9.6, and I'm just like,
yeah, you see like Aatrox Urgot play like top lanes, and you're like, what patch is this?
I saw them.
It was a little.
They didn't even pick Urgot on 9.6 or ban him, and I'm like, this is the one where he got buffed and he's broken again for a patch.
Yeah.
What?
This is the one where he's got like 8% max health damage and his W's always up.
Where was the jungle
I'm just thinking to myself, like,
where was it at?
What's up?
This is where was the jungler got? Like, where's that solo?
Yeah, like that was actual broken. Like, and these people are like playing. I mean, okay, Rek'Sai is decent, but it's
a bit crazy to see how like not necessarily off red their meta is, because their meta is different regionally based.
Right.
But like stylistically, when you look at the top teams, top team meta, and then you go, or top region meta, and then you go over to here and you're like, oh, they're just picking Lucian. They're picking Lucian. What against Varus, where you just lose that lane every time because you can't even play because you've got supports like Galio still, so Lucian just loses those matchups. It's crazy, but hey.
Yeah, so we should jump into the minor regions then. Yeah, which one do you want to start with?
Well, I do think PvP are going to be the best minor region, but technically...
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Well, maybe not better than Flash Wolves, but I actually do think they will be. Arguably, I think they'll be better than Flash Wolves. I think Flash Wolves are probably what we're going to talk about first, just because people are aware of them.
Yeah, so this year's iteration of Flash Wolves is somewhat similar. They lost Maple and they lost Sword Art. And I mean, if you remember Karsa, yeah, he's been on RNG for a while, but he's also gone. So Hanabi is still on the team, so the top laner who got the solo kills on Yasuo at MSI. Flash Wolves did look good at MSI. They didn't look as good at Worlds. They looked good week 1, but week 2 they fell off. Hanabi looked pretty bad throughout the regular split, but he actually popped the fuck off in playoffs. I think that if the meta still like Vlad, Akali, to some extent Kennen, like those kind of picks, I think that Flash Wolves has a chance to maybe take a few best of ones, because Hanabi was looking insane. His Kennen play was sublime. Every time he would just find the carries on Mad Team in the finals and he would just knock them out. He was actually competent on Vlad, so that's like, a big plus. His Akali was okay. But at the same time, in the LMS finals, Mad Team, which was the 0-6 team we saw last year, which I don't remember all their names because I didn't really care about them that much, but they're not that much different, and they were the number 1 seeded team going to the final. So this Flash Wolves was actually second place. They were 9-5, I believe, against the 11-3, or however the math works out. Yeah, I don't actually remember their records.
They had 11
or
wins.
Maybe it was like,
that's all I remember.
Yeah, they had 11 wins. That's what I remember seeing. And they picked shit like Lissandra after the nerfs. They picked Ezreal, Braum. Okay, so their last draft was Sion, Rek'Sai, Lissandra, Ezreal, Braum. Now riddle me this: who's supposed to do damage in this comp?
But the thing is that by that game they just tilted as hell from the first one, because the first game was so bad. Their top laner can't play Vladimir to save his goddamn life. He would like pull in. He'd forget to do, like, he wouldn't. I guess I don't remember if you actually take Proto Belt on Vlad in competitive.
You can. Some people do still because of the wave clear.
He's not taking in damage. He just like would E. He wouldn't flash in with his E, but he'd get his E and then he'd pull, and they would just turn on him and just burst him, and he'd then have to run away, or he'd pull out. He wouldn't even pull in. He'd pull out, and he'd just get away with like a slither of health. They were playing Kindred jungle. As I thought their first draft. Like, looking at Flash Wolves' draft might be interesting. I'm not sure because I don't know how good Mad Team are, but the way that they play.
I mean, Mad Team looked okay in the regular season, but I mean, that's not saying much.
I think their game 1 draft I thought it was really smart by taking Jarvan on the first pick and then banning out all the junglers and forcing him onto a Kindred. And I thought maybe Kindred. I think Kindred's really weak in that matchup. I thought maybe the jungler could play Kindred. He couldn't. He was garbage. So.
Yeah, the Kongra, whatever his name. Yeah, he picked Kindred. They banned out Jarvan in the first round, and they picked Rek'Sai first pick. So, yeah.
So
and they left jungle to the second rotation, so they banned out
the Olaf as well, right?
Yeah, Flash Wolves banned Olaf.
So they got like, I guess Nocturne was the only other pick there that you would have taken, and they weren't committed to taking Nocturne.
Well, I mean, if they knew how to play Urgot, it's also fine. But
apparently not.
I mean, so the theory behind Kindred, as a jungle main, Kindred can handle Rek'Sai if you survive the early game, because you're all literally hard counters the Rek'Sai ult. But the pro level jungling is way different. It's harder to pull off something like a Kindred unless you can play it very well and your pathing. Konya just didn't.
It's really hard to get the marks.
It looked like he just looked up u.gg and he's like, Kindred's a good matchup, good win rate. All right. Yeah. Also, so to go off the rest of Flash Wolves roster, they have Hanabi, Rather, Betty. I have no idea how to say that support's name. Xiaoxi.
I had it written down.
And Bougie. I don't know who Bougie is. Rather is the
Griffin.
He's on loan right now from Griffin mid. Yeah. So that's a pretty big plus. But at the same time, before Chovy went into Griffin was not a top challenger team. Like, they were looking good. But the roster was the same except for Chovy. Chovy joins the roster, all of a sudden they're undefeated. They're 3-0ing their promotion series, and then they're winning the split. So I think Rather's probably pretty good. I mean, he was on an insane team, but
he looked pretty good.
He looked
series.
decent.
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, he looked better than Uniboy.
Yeah, that guy was. Yikes.
The guy looked the same as he was at Worlds. Yeah. I honestly don't know how they got first seed. Betty showed up big at MSI last year too, so Betty's still looking decent. He still places like his picks are meta right now. Varus is meta, Kai'Sa's still meta, which is the only things he played in the 3-game series. But he was also against Breeze. Like honestly, it's hard to say because Mad Team just looked
not great,
really weak.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I took out of the LMS series was that I thought that Flash Wolves, outside of Hanabi being their like strong player, was that their dragon control was clean, like clean to the point where pro level dragon play in a lot of regions is like, even NA, it's like really strange. It's like lots of 50-50 fights where teams aren't setting up any priority, or they start to set up priority, but both teams know the dragon's up, so they just walk over to the dragon and they just 50-50 fight for no reason, instead of like allowing, like, instead of trying to play, I guess, 3D chess, if you will, knowing that the enemy team are gonna know you're there. But Flash Wolves in this series were just like, we're just gonna walk over to dragon and take it almost every time. The vision was set up, their lanes were pushed out, they got the dragon, and obviously that's one way to get an edge that was clean. But other than that, I didn't see anything that amazed me. Their team fighting was alright.
I think that they probably are still a threat because, you know, rather Betty and Hanabi, especially Hanabi, could show up hard against, like, Hanabi, if he can take care of Zeros from Fumble, maybe they can do something. But they didn't show that level of synergy and like cleanliness in a team that like it just felt like they were getting gifted. Like you see Kennen finish a big item, he would ult in on 2 carries who were just piled up by themselves, isolated, not protected. And then the fight would end. And you're like, I mean, they are better than the second best team in
LMS
Taiwan, but it's unfortunate. I think that to end the LMS note, if they had kept Sword Art, if they had kept Maple with this roster, and I mean, if for some reason they had Karsa and Hanabi, I think this team could be like, you know, top really 3 potentially.
If they still had Karsa and they still had Maple and Sword Art, they would be pretty nuts, because you've got like Maple was fantastic. Holy crap! Yeah. Maple Karsa as a jungle duo, the fact that they're not together still is so upsetting.
It's kind of sad, because I was actually surprised. Like Shahu's a great player, but I thought they were gonna get the package deal.
Even if you go to China, go together, please. Holy crap, you're so good. You were like dumpstering Korean teams like they were nothing. You just like, boom, get the hell out of here. Like
solo killing Faker, not caring about who you're playing against,
just being a nuts player. But yeah, I don't know. I think Flash Wolves, they showed promise in the sense of when I watched them play, I go, wow, they're doing like the right things, but they weren't contested or anything. As you said, they were gifted a lot of stuff. Their laners were winning, but do I think Hanabi's going to win against the Shy? No. Maybe, again, maybe Khan. We've seen that Khan has weakness.
Just which days Khan shows up.
Like Khan can be nuts, but Khan, in my mind, Khan plays like, God, it's going to sound bad. Khan plays a bit like Bwipo Worlds did last year, where everyone was like, dude, Bwipo's like sick, he's such a mechanical beast. But now you just watch Bwipo without like the Soaz swap and the way the team is played, and Bwipo just overextends because he thinks he's really good. He thinks he's better than every single time, which is a very disrespectful way to play, and it gets you killed a lot.
And also Bwipo does this. This is just a minor thing, because when I'm watching LC, I see the face cam. I see Bwipo, like whenever he messes up, he just like has this big grin on his face. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And when he does well, I'm like not sure what's going through Bwipo's head. I maybe that's just how he untilts, but he's an interesting player. I also remember Khan during the finals, like he was playing Riven against Hecarim, not Hecarim, Aatrox, and he like pops Aatrox passive. He's at like 100 health on Riven, and Aatrox is coming out of passive. He tries to go in for the fight, and Sword just like hits him twice, and he's just like, "What are you doing?"
He's like, "Oh."
I was like watching, like, there's no way Riven wins this, right?
He's crazy.
Like this is early game Aatrox. He just
thinks he's the best, and I mean, I guess that's what good players should do. But hey,
I mean, it'll be enough to beat up lesser top laners for sure. Like this is the kind of stuff that smothers them. But
he'll look nuts.
Hanabi needs to really show up.
He'll look nuts against weak teams, but against good teams, this is where, you know, the weakness becomes way more apparent, is focusing topside.
For sure. Yeah, if Flash Wells are still scrimming with RNG, which they traditionally have always been scrim partners with RNG, maybe they can show up with some macro, but I think that style, unless it comes back into meta, is just not suited for our current patch. So we'll see. But I don't think I think Flash Wells are probably going to be in pool 1 of the play-ins next year, and I think Fumvu is most likely going to be where NA is currently.
Yeah, I could see that. Speaking of Fumvu,
unless Fumvu just explodes, but I don't think
I would hope not, because I mean, I'd like to think that they do really well at this MSI. You know, not win, but very well for a minor region, enough to give themselves some status. And then these players have went from 2018 Worlds to this MSI to potentially 2019 Worlds or the MSI next year, and look like an actual top contender, because this team lineup is like way stronger than you'd think. Granted, you're not looking at any names that you've heard of before if you're not watching this region, so you're like, oh, it's just a strange team from Vietnam. They can't be that good. But their top laner is nuts. He's very much like the Khan of this team, where he thinks he's better, and he definitely plays overzealous at times. But from being from a weaker team, generally, that's actually much better, because at least when you're dying, you would have lost in a lot of matchups anyway. So you're playing to the maximum of your ability, and like not being afraid to lose the game, and therefore getting choked out. So like watching this guy play, I think EVOS is the team that PPB played in the finals.
Yeah, EVOS.
Just a team that didn't seem particularly well. They did take the first game, but I do think out of this best of 5 series, it was literally just that PvP's bot lane entered, and then found it really hard to get back, because game 1 and game 2, their drafts were exactly the same outside of their bot lane changed from, God, what did they even pick? It wasn't that great. I think because they played Sylas top, Lee Sin in the jungle, and then Lissandra mid, and in game 2 they played Sylas, Jarvan, Lissandra, and their bot lane I think was like Varus Brom in game 2, which was much better than whatever they picked in game 1, and they didn't end.
Yeah.
And then the second game, they just rolled over their team like it was nothing. They play very topside heavy, which their mid laner kind of solo wins his lane. Even on the Lissandra, nerfed, actually, it was 9.6, so she wasn't nerfed. But
oh, wait.
Yeah, right. Lissandra into like Syndra was like CS up, solo killing the lane, which this guy plays Aftershock Lissandra the way that every team picks Lissandra and wants to. Like, she's not only affecting side lanes and being really good in late game team fights, but she's just winning her lane like it's nothing. He's just solo killing the enemy laner.
Yeah.
Like
if you're not winning lane with Aftershock Lissandra against a lot of these matchups that you're picking into, like, you're not actually playing it right. Like, a lot of these pro teams that just like meta pick Lissandra, they just like go even or even slightly behind, and I'm just like, what are you doing on Lissandra?
Just kill them. Just win. Champion's broken. Aftershock is broken as hell.
Yeah, you have unlimited prio. You have, at that point, insane wave clear. And I mean, you win any skirmish. Like, by default, you should win any skirmish past 6, even pre-6.
Here's what it was. They played Ashe Tom, and then they played Varus Morgana. But
wait,
yeah. So
Ashe Tom and they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So they have some strange drafts. So they, instead of picking, they didn't even play against Varus. Instead of picking Varus Tom Kench, they play Ashe Tom Kench into Brom, and then the next game they're like, oh, we inted a little bit too much, so they pick Morgana as their support. And I'm like, it's a little weird, but it actually paid off for them in the end, because obviously if you can just black shield somebody, now you can't overextend an int. Their support likes to overextend a fair amount. I watched pretty much all their deaths from bot lane. Their bot lane isn't their strongest point, but they're not like, they're serviceable. You know, they're for some reason the player that comes to mind when I think of like, oh well, I was gonna say Steelback, which is a name that no one's heard of in a long ass time.
Oh my god, Steelback.
Yeah, imagine the old Fnatic bot lane with Steelback. That's how like good these guys are on paper level. Like, they're pretty damn good, but they're not like, they're never gonna win their lane against fantastic bot laners. And occasionally,
I mean, Steelback's one of those EU 80 carriers that people will say, oh no, he's not that bad. He's like pretty good, and then he just never shows up on a team. Well, Steelback actually had a decent split on a mid-tier EU team afterward, but Hierarn's not.
But their bot lane is,
and
they're all right. They're not amazing, but like
they'll
do the job. If their team is
winning,
then they'll be good.
Didn't Big Koro solo kill Sneaky in?
I think so. This guy can definitely
group stages last year.
Maybe
it was like I think so. It was like Fumbu like got a solo kill in bot lane. I just remember the sneaky in lane. But either way, I think that he's done some stuff.
He's a Varus
They're not the
player. He
focal
can
point.
definitely play Varus
Yeah.
really well. I'll say that. The game he played Varus, he was
Yeah.
popping off. His team seemingly likes to play like they group so early, which is I think good in terms of what you want to do with a top laner like this, because this guy he brings a lot of pressure to his lane all the time. I mean, in the third game, he's playing Aurelia, which is a really good thing to see since he played Silas 2 games, and I was like, uh-oh, can this guy not play like Aurelia or Akali? He picks up the Aurelia, and he just solo kills the bot lane 2v1. He just goes to bot lane at like 9 minutes and just kills them both into the tower. He's crazy. He's really good at that champion, so that was good. And I think...
I mean, Silas is insane. So
he's on Aurelia.
Oh, on Aurelia he is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I misheard. I was like, Silas should be able to do it.
Well, I think that Aurelia is just... I mean, Aurelia still has the strength, but this is like slightly nerfed, still strong, but like you have to be really good. You have to play the fight properly. And it was a Thresh Varus, I want to say he played this against, and like didn't die under tower, so it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
he's like a pretty strong laner. He tends to be in the side lane a lot, and then his team groups and just takes an objective while you're like forced to pressure out because he stomps his lane so hard that you can't send the top laner. You got to send somebody else. Also, weirdly, something that might help them in a lot of their matchups is that their mid laner plays Morgana mid. So, kind of like Pawn did in Faker's LeBlanc, and he plays it really well. I think like looking at their matchups where you go, maybe they'll like lose lane because their mid laner might not be as strong because they've got a smart jungler and a good top side, and their AD sucks. Their AD sucks per se. If their AD carry is looking weak in that matchup, they play the Lissandra. They can play Morgana. Those are really good utility mids to help out the bot lane from losing lane. So or in team fights, I think that's like really that'll switch up their drafts a lot. And it's not a pick that's going to get banned out either, because Morgana's not exactly like priority on support. So no one's really...
But the problem is they're playing 9.8, and both of those characters are nerfed now.
That's true.
I mean, Morgana's still playable. Like, you still see her in solo queue, but she lost 0.15 AP ratio and base damage off her Q, and I think her E costs more, or her E is weaker. I forgot what the other nerf was, but she is weaker than before, and Lissandra's a little bit gutted right now. So that's a little bit of a shame for them. If they were on 9.6, I think it would be a lot better for their mid lane draft priority or draft diversity.
I don't know. I think that their matchups against Team Liquid and G2 are going to be interesting to watch, because again, thinking about the potential Promise Q bot lane coming in on G2, I don't think that their bot lane is going to like super lose out. And then I'd like to see their top laner Zeros versus Wonder, as well as I don't think that like Null versus Caps is like a thing where you go, oh wow, Caps is just going to dumpster this guy. But again, if he plays, I mean, I don't think that he's like written off to lose lane immediately. If he is worried, he can fall back to these picks that are way more defensive, where he's okay to just kind of go even. Granted, I don't think that he wants to go even on Lissandra, but he could potentially still pick the Aftershock Lissandra and try to like mitigate some of the deficit that he would be against.
If it's against a player like Caps, I guess that's already winning. If you're just mitigating
stopping him from just like popping off. So I think that overall, their macro was pretty damn clean. They set up for Dragon unbelievably well. Again, it's kind of in a minor region. It's kind of hard to tell, because teams just give up.
You might be just getting it for free.
Teams just give up. But their vision control, their way to set up waves ahead of time, like at one point, their mid laner needs to recall, so they get the prio on the wave, and they know that they're not going to be able to. They won't safely contest. Dragon will be contested if he recalls, but he needs to. So he recalls, and they wait for them to start contesting the Dragon. Then they take the TP behind for a flank, which is obviously it's like a small change, but like if you TP earlier, then now the enemy team isn't going to pressure in, and maybe you do get the Dragon, but instead you've taken a kill and a Dragon because of it, just off a tiny little like microcosm of a TP play. Like being like thinking and waiting about these things. Not to mention their bot lane actually, like their team actually reacts to plays relatively quick. Their jungle is very proactive at like walking into the jungle and going, hey, we're going to take a fight, and then they collapse when they need to, and that's pretty good because you definitely see their communication as a team has like obviously they've been playing for like over a year together now, so
Yeah.
synergy is very good, and I think that in team fighting they're not gonna be like they're not gonna shy away from taking messy team fights, but playing them relatively well, very much like Chinese teams like to do. So I think they've got a good chance of taking games off TL and G2. Probably not SKT or IG, but I mean that's still good for them.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely. Well, actually, first of all, I guess we have to very briefly touch on what pool they're in. I think they're in pool one,
Fenerbahce,
like pool one of the play-ins.
Fenerbahce. God, I want to say Bombers from the OCE and
I just
Mega,
don't know what the last team.
I believe this team is called
the SEA team.
Yes, because I know that the other one is definitely Detonation Focus Me,
the LGAL,
INTZ, Vega Squadron from the CIS Russia, and the Latin South team.
Oh wait, no, Mega's in Group B. It's Isurus is in Group A.
I don't remember what that who.
Isurus LLA, the Latin. I think that's the Latin America, and LST is. Goodness gracious! LST is actually Southeast Asia.
Okay. Well, it's very confusing. There's a handful of teams that we didn't look over because.
Oh wait, no, I'm reading this wrong. Okay, sorry. Fomvu, 1907 Fenerbahce, Mega from SCA, Vega Squadron from CIS, and then Pool 2.
INTZ, Detonate and Focus Me, Bombers, and who are we missing? ICG, ISG even, right?
Hey, are these just? Oh no, these are the pools they pull from, isn't it?
If you're looking at the video, try at the end.
What? Yeah, okay, it's at the end. Okay, yeah. So Fenerbahce, PVB, Isurus, and Bombers. Okay.
So I definitely there's only one team get out of pool, right? To go into the next one.
I think only one team goes out of pool because there's 4 teams in the playoffs of the play-ins, and then 2 teams get out. Or
what? Yeah, two teams as one team from each side go up into the next bracket, and then one team from that get up to the next one, right?
But that wouldn't make sense because right now there's only 3 teams sitting in the final stage of MSI, so 3 teams would make it out, right?
Maybe
because they changed it up this year.
Maybe they play a tiebreaker on whoever is, because is it double round robin? And it can't be double round robin. And they've made it confusing.
They've made it confusing. It used to be very straightforward. All I know is that there's 3 spots. Winner of the lower bracket match also advances to the main event. So the winner of each round 2 match will move on. Okay, so this is the same as before. So basically, there's a round 2. It's Team Liquid and Flashballs are in round 2. Yes. Whoever wins that match goes to the main event. And then the losers of those 2 matches play against each other. And then whoever wins that match goes into the main event too. So there's 3 seeds from the play-ins now. I don't know why, but there is.
For just literally no reason. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, sorry for the viewers too. We're all learning together here. But to really quickly touch on PVB's group, they have Fenerbahce, 1907, whatever, Isurus Gaming, and Bombers. Bombers isn't looking so hot.
It's fair to say that the OC region is just never gonna be strong, unfortunately.
No, they've gotten hype before. Schernfire used to be there, but I'm done betting on OC for anything past last place.
They're
Isurus is from Latin America United now, or I don't know what they actually call it, but Latin America's North and South are the same region now. Yeah, so you could say that. I mean, they still have Seiya from before, but everyone else I don't recognize. I mean, you could say that uniting the 2 regions might make the town poll a little better, but at best they're getting 3rd.
Yeah.
And it's really just between Fenerbahce and PVB at that point.
And I don't think that Fenerbahce can beat PVB, unfortunately. I think watching their playoff finals, it was like watching just some dude like loaded into Korean solo queue, but he actually loaded into the Fenerbahce playoffs game, and then he was like, let me just pick Rise because it's like, and he just tried a 1v9, like, it felt really bad. He's really Ruin is really good on that team, but the team didn't do anything. I mean, the most notable thing about the series was that they beat Wolf, who is SKT Wolf, is now on Supermassive.
Yeah, SKT Wolf. Yeah, who's on Supermassive. I actually thought Supermassive had a good chance in that series, so I was surprised. But yeah, I mean, Ruin, like we've seen Ruin in LEC or EULCS in the past. We've seen Ruin, we've seen Curate, their jungler, and like they're known quantities to some extent. Like I think Ruin was probably a little better than his team was. I don't even remember what team Ruin was on way back, but
I definitely
was there.
I don't remember him looking this good, but obviously now playing in a bit of a minor region, he looks like toned up.
Yeah, and if your best player is your top laner against PvP, I have to imagine it's going to be a really rough time. Like Zeros is a better player than Ruin. Zeros actually has shown up on a more higher level on international stage. Well, we've never even seen Ruin internationally.
Like I just think about some of the things that they were playing in this series, where they're playing the Aatrox mid. They're playing Lucian. They're playing Karthus jungle. Their jungle looked so weak, and I don't know how, because this guy's been in EULCS before, and he didn't. I didn't think he was like. I don't think that he's flat like garbage, but in this game, it's in game 2. He picks Kindred, and he watches Jarvan get the bottom crab and walk over to the second crab, and he's like, "All right, they've both only got one buff." So he's like, I'm going to contest this. He runs up mid, pushes, and then instead of going to the crab, he's like, oh, I'll just take a fight with the mid laner. Pushes up, like hits like 3 minions with his Kindred Q. Jarvan comes around and he just gets himself killed. And his mid laner's like watching him like, what are you doing? Hello? I'm trying to like lane. It's not even 4 minutes into the game. The dude's just like flat inting. He's not very good. And they somehow still won this game 1. They lose like all their games. This Ruin dude is just like, I'm just gonna win the game by myself. He sits in side lanes, he pushes bot, he pushes out onto the inhib, and then who's the team that Supermassive even go? They go for the Baron. He TPs to a ward in Tribush. Solo as Ryze pushes them off the Baron, and then Ryze ults out of the fight. And I'm like, holy crap, this dude he's one man armying this team. But like the team do not look strong at all. They look really weak outside of the exception of this guy like dragging his team across the finish line.
Yeah, so Ruin was on Giants and SK way back when, but Giants in 2018, 2017. So like, yeah, I mean, to their credit, they did beat a roster of Fabulous, Stomage, Frozen, Zeitnot, and Wolf, which like on paper should be like their super team in there. Like
Supermassive could win, and actually if Supermassive came into this MSI, I'd be like, oh, they're actually not that bad. Like if Supermassive goes up against PvP, I could see like good arguments for this team. Somehow the wrong team wins, just like NA.
Well, I Team Liquid they earned their keep because they didn't hit SR.
Damn. God, TSM, how did you lose this game? How did you lose that series? I'll never let it go. I'm gonna be mad.
A reminder that TSM dropped a 2-0 lead.
No.
But yeah, I mean that's about all there is to say. They beat a pretty good team in Supermassive on paper. I'm still surprised, but it does not necessarily mean that they get their skill. This isn't anime. They're not that strong on paper. If they show up, good for them. But until we like do our show during the MSI, I just don't think that they're. Group A is people are saying Group A is the stronger group, but I honestly think that it's a little disappointing, the difference between PvP right now and Fenerbahce right now.
It's pretty crazy. I think that, I don't know, I guess that people like watch the series. I say people watch it. To be honest, I'd go out to assume that not that many people actually went and saw this series, because in game 3 they're picking like they pick Fiora in 9.6, so this is pre-buff Fiora, and they're playing Yasuo bot lane. They're just like, yeah, whatever, like sure, they're almost like, I don't want to say troll picking because Yasuo can be a good bot laner, but they're just like, whatever, we just don't even care. We'll just play something and Ruin will just win the game for us. Ruin's on his Fiora, he's on a good pick. Like the guy, he's a precious soak. He literally just sits inside lane all game because that's all he can do. Like his team just in mid, and he's like, all right, thanks, let me like pick Ryze and scale up and then just win the fight because Ryze is broken. And he would to be fair, his roaming is nuts. His roaming, like his roam timings are really well. At one point, it's like 6 minutes in the game. He roams from top mid to save a play, and then walks bot lane and gets a kill, and then TPs, and he doesn't even miss like any CS. So like,
Yeah, but that also should never
No,
happen
not at all.
in like a elite level game. Like this is like when you're smurfing
Yeah,
with your friends.
pretty
Like if your
much.
friends are slightly worse, and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna take all the resources. I'm just gonna gank mid top bot and then just go back to top and reset. Because it works if you're playing in like a lower elo. But
this guy, poor man, trying his best. He's not gonna do it.
I can imagine Wolf is in bot lane, like he's coming bot, and then his AD carry Zeitnot's like, what did you say, Wolf?
The top lane is, I don't believe you. There's no way.
Bet,
dude, there's
There's no way he runs all the way down here on foot.
Oh god. It's pretty bad.
Also, a minor thing I've noticed with all these play-in region playoffs, I think that Ryze is being let through a lot. Like they're letting super carries just play Ryze, and they're letting them pick Sylas. I mean, okay, granted, Sylas has been countered in these regions, so maybe it's not the 100% pick ban you see in the major regions. But Ryze is broken in pro play. I think if you're like a challenger level player, and you get Ryze with the right setup, it should be insane.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm surprised.
I mean, I think Ryze gets through in career as well, but the argument there is that you're looking at teams that are letting Ryze go are like, oh yeah, but we're also SKT, so it's it's cool. That kind of like.
I mean, Faker got Ryze twice. Yeah, I think he got it twice or
once. Maybe it was.
Did Chovy get it twice?
Maybe Chovy got it twice.
I think it showed up almost every game in the playoffs, in the finals. So that's why I'm. Either way, I just remember Faker's Ryze play, and I'm thinking to myself, what did you guys think you were going to do to this?
And I know. I'll let world champion Ryze one trick on his Ryze. God. I don't know. It just seems that like minor regions are playing really weird things, and I guess that's their argument for like taking games off teams, is that they're going to come in with some unique drafts, some unique setups, which is what people are praising G2 for, right? Because G2 are going to play funnel and some crazy different things. I'm sure we'll see players.
I mean, I'd rather them choose something different than like choose like the same meta and then get body, because they're just flat out worse.
We might see some interesting things. Like we might see. Granted, Karthus jungle is not super interesting, but we haven't seen Karthus jungle. We haven't seen Karthus jungle on like Karthus versus Rex.
Outside the
Karthus
LEC,
versus Rek'Sai is not gonna be. It's gonna be like, oh, okay, like all right. I guess maybe this team stands a chance in late game team fighting now. Maybe we could just int several times, but as long as Karthus has got like 3 items, it doesn't matter. We just win the game because it's just Karthus. So
right. Yeah, I mean, Karthus is like one of those not evergreen. It's just like one of those. No matter what happens, I'll probably have impact in this game. Like the second you slip up once.
Goddamn.
Yeah. We'll add card. GP, just if you can play GP.
Vayne.
I mean, as a
good at Vayne, but you can lose lane as long as you can play the champion. Nasus.
Vayne still hasn't been touched. I mean, she's not as good in competitive, but she still can be insane with the right comp. Just stop drafting Vayne without like a Braum or something. Like, please.
Teams don't. They don't play draft like they go, oh, I want this pick. Granted, I guess the pro player, it's the pro player wants this pick, and you go, oh, I can play this.
Right.
As where they don't necessarily always go into like a good in-depth thinking of like, oh, right, like we want to counter like a certain player on the enemy team, and then here's like a good draft setup, because so many teams always have weak drafts. Even good teams like find a way to get like bad drafts in best of fives. So
yeah, I mean, like we're sitting here and we have like hours to prepare to think about drafts, like what's the most intelligent pick. So sometimes we don't know what the player's form is, maybe they don't like the matchup. So with that in mind, it's not always the team's fault. I do think that there's a very strange priority in this minor regions. Maybe we'll be proven wrong. Maybe at MSI, like these guys have seen the way. I mean,
I don't know. I can see
it's possible.
I wouldn't bet on it.
NA has come into Worlds before and decided the meta, and then like gone 0-4 afterward when everyone else picks up on it.
Yeah.
But so we'll see. Let's talk about. Do you want to touch on Bombers?
Were you not impressed? I don't think that. I don't think anything's coming out of OC where I'm like, oh, this team's gonna do well. At best, we're literally gonna be talking about damage control. Like, oh, how hard did they not lose? Which is
right. Like, can they potentially look good in a game or something? I think that between the two, I would actually say that I only saw it like a little bit. I didn't really care to watch. Isurus looked a little better, but it doesn't matter. Third and fourth, everything but first in these pools don't matter.
Pretty much.
So.
I guess the one thing, and this is literally just for me, how are INTZ looking, and who the hell are they playing? Because they have 14 people listed on their roster.
Yeah, so they played, I think, exactly the same players every time. So they have Tay in the top lane. He plays carries like Renekton, for example. Their best player, in my opinion, was their mid laner. His name's INTZ Envy. I've never seen him in any of the other, because Brazil just has shakeups. They have INTZ, Kaboom, Red Caneds or whatever.
I know what we're talking about.
And, anyways, Envy looks like their best player. He plays Ryze really well. He was their hyper carry. He got a pentakill on Ryze.
Yeah. What a guy.
Their jungler Shinny played AP Gragas.
I think I saw Gragas I don't think it was in minor region as well. I want to say in the Fenerbahce series.
Yeah, their AD carry's name is Mills. He didn't look great throughout the series. It was a 4-game series. They won 3-1. Mills pulled out Draven against BRTT, which is a name that Double If fans might remember from the paying gaming days.
Hell yeah.
So he was down 1,400 gold as Draven versus Kog'Maw Braum as Draven Morgana. So
oh my god,
not convinced about his carry for that.
Draven players coming in though, dude.
I got to witness a 1,619 gold cash in on Draven at 32 minutes.
The bang!
It was quite the game.
Dude, he's set for the team gold just goes up like that on the gold craft.
Yeah, but they played against Flamingo Esports. If you've ever watched any of the, let me really quickly bring up the roster because I don't remember off the top of my head. But the roster is Robo, which most people won't know, Shrimp, who was the former NA jungler from, I forget which team he subbed for.
It was.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Jesus.
He looked okay, but Goku, who I do remember the name, but I don't remember much about him.
Korea, and maybe he might have played in Korean Challenger in CK at some point, I think.
Let's see. Oh, he was on Kaboom before. That might be why. And then they have BRTT, who we should all know by now from the many stints of Brazilian teams. And then
what I proposed at Worlds, right? That's what happened. The dude with the big Draven tag on his arms. Looks like
BRTT's a cool dude, and he's a good player. So I'm surprised.
Tournament, to be honest.
I would have to agree. And then there's supports like Lucy or something. Either way, Flamingo will look like an okay team in the finals, but their drafts were garbage. Let me tell you. In one of their games, they picked game 3. They picked press the attack Trundle jungle, and there were 0 tanks on the enemy team. It was just they just pressed the attack Trundle, and I'm like looking at this. I'm like, why would you pick Trundle here? I thought it was like something was like I thought it was like a team comp.
Did they like pick it early in the draft?
I believe it was quite early in the draft. Well, no, actually. No. This was like at least 2 characters are picked. It's hard because Light Binding doesn't do Brazil, so like it's hard to look up like the exact draft because people just don't do post game discussions of it in depth. But as I did watch the game, so as far as I remember, it was not like first pick or anything. It was like they just picked Trundle. I'm looking at it, I'm like, what are you gonna do? And guess what? It did nothing. It did absolutely nothing. It got absolutely bodied.
The only thing I can think of is that they're playing some 4D chess shit, and they're like, oh dude, if we pick Trundle now, they'll never pick a tank. And then they'll be really squishy, and we can just kill them. Like what? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, like maybe. Yeah, I guess like it does. Okay, it does prevent the tanks from being picked, which means that you can pick like assassins, for example, like a Kali, which is true. But you still have a useless jungler. Like keep in mind,
maybe the jungler sucks anyway. Like who knows?
Maybe they were preparing for 9.8 because Trundle did get some relatively big buffs in 9.8, like 20 extra damage on Chomp and the Pillar or something
like that. No, was it not? It wasn't Subjugate actually. No.
It wasn't Subjugate. If they buff Subjugate again.
Hell yeah! Come on. I mean, again, tank buffs coming in. I'm excited to see Trundle.
Yeah, so you got to make Trundle and Fiora slightly better to handle them. I mean, that's true. Mills is just worse than BRTT, and like BRTT is a good AD carry. Like I don't think he's literally better than Double Lift, but he has at least memed on him before.
He can totally be better than Double Lift on a day, right? And that's all you need to be.
Yeah, exactly. So Mills, I'm not expecting anything out of them. They can pay Draven, so maybe they'll take games off of the less experienced teams in the group 2 or Group B. And and their top laner played Renekton, so he was a decent Renekton player. He
The Renekton
kind of popped off. Renekton got buffed too, so that's why I'm mentioning the Renekton. But INTZ looks like I don't know if INTZ is going to be very good. The drafts were just so bad in this series that I'm like looking. I'm like, what are you doing with AP Gragas in 9.6? And if they were playing it well, like AP Gragas is a very powerful pick at around like the level 6 area. He can actually like 100-0 some people. You know, if you ever watch like Panunu on Twitch, like, you know, Gragas can do a lot of work. But this man was playing Gragas like scared out of his mind. Like he would just like throw an ult.
You gotta go ham
from like
if you're building AP
a mile away into 5 people and then not go in.
Electrocute proc on, and
and then you go Predator or Electrocute, and you just like take advantage of it. And the man just didn't know what to do on it. So I'm not convinced of the region in general. Though historically, you know, Brazil has been like considered like the next up and coming until 2 years ago, where they've honestly just dropped off a cliff.
It's pretty unfortunate.
They haven't done anything.
I think the last time Brazil did really well would be it was actually INTZ. It was was it 2015 Worlds where they beat
2015
EDG
they beat EDG.
Was it Yami and Revolta? I don't remember the top laner's name.
It was something in Revolta. I remember Revolta,
and he was just shit stomping these guys. Gnarly.
Yeah, and then they was like gnarly Sen, and they just took Mouse out back, and they just like beat him up.
Where is he even? I don't even know he's on a team anymore. Or maybe a Chinese team.
Mouse was on an okay team last year. I don't know if he's on any team this year. He actually looked decent last year on Rogue Warriors.
Maybe.
Mouse was on a good team last year, but this year I legitimately don't know what happened to him. We could, if we ever do an LPL segment, we can talk about him. But
some LPL stuff. But I guess
besides that, in the group B, there's also, you know, like there's Mega, there's Vega Squadron, who's beat out. Who did they beat out in the finals?
I'd have to look it up.
We know Vega Squadron, but this team is very different from the roster we've seen at previous tournaments. They beat out EPG.
Who is even on this team?
Elements Pro Gaming. And who's on that team? Non-Holy, 4, Faulty, Vincent Vega, and Archie 2. Who the hell are these people?
I have no clue.
I've legitimately never.
No.
I'm surprised that like the former Gambits people aren't in the playoffs.
Me as well. It's really surprising to think that Gambit. I mean, not just as an org, but like who was even on Gambit now other than Diamond Prox? PvP Stavos.
So right now's Gambit roster is still PvP Stavos, Diamond Prox, Kira the mid laner, Logic is the same AD carry. I don't know who. Just Squee Maxis, but
better than Edward, right?
Whoever that is.
Poor Edward.
Edward is just phoning it in, man. Holy moly! Well. But so this Vegas Squadron did 3-0 that PvP Stavos Diamond Prox team, which this Gambit team looked good at play-ins. They actually put some pressure in on who was it in the play-ins at Worlds? C9. Yeah, C9. It was like 3-1, but it was a sweat. I was sweating. I was 3-1 or 3-2.
It must have been 3-2 because it was definitely because it was like this close to C9 not making it in.
Yeah, it was a 3-2, and it was like a winnable for Gambit. Like Gambit had a play, they could have just ended C9's run on.
What is it with Gambit players and like solo carrying? Well, I say solo carrying. That's a bit offensive because PvP Steos was actually really good as well. But Gambit players just like holding on to how good they used to be. By like this much, except for Edward.
They're like, let me summon the old spirits of old. No. But the Vegas Squadron members, I don't know any of them. They don't have any international experience. None of them ever shown up to like as a representative for CIS. But they did 3-0 Gambit, and they 3-1 whichever team was in the finals with them, who still have players we don't know, which could be a good thing. You know, Griffin came in, and Griffin was looking amazing, and they're all relatively new talents to the scene. So you could say we could look out for Vegas Squadron. It is like a known, like I don't know if you watch Counter-Strike, for example, but Vegas Squadron went into Counter-Strike and they basically just like absolutely dominated some random like high level tournaments, beating top teams. So like the organization isn't like some no-named org. But once again, even if you beat up Gambit,
if you're a little better,
I mean, it's impressive.
Better, then you could come. I guess it's arguable that they come in at maybe above Fenerbahce, but not necessarily above PvP, which PvP, but
yeah, not above PvP.
But it is enough to maybe take them to the main event.
Yeah, I think that they're better than INTZ. Detonation Focus Me is mostly the same roster. Evi, I remember from last year. Cirrus is the same. Utapon's the same. Gang is not the same. Is
the only person that they changed because their support used to be Vivid.
Right. Oh, right. And so Detonation Focus Me has like LJL has only shown up once at Worlds or internationally in general. They looked good, but they didn't look. I don't know if they looked good enough to beat like a CIS mainstay.
They just want to. I think because the region's so new, and in fact, I know that they're getting like a big amount of infrastructure change because right now it's like tiny. Japan is not that big on esports because Japan isn't that big on PC gaming. They're like a console market.
Yeah, they're just on PC game.
But funnily enough, oh god, who was it? I think it's. I read an article like a couple of days ago. It's like Will Smith is part of a $46 million infrastructure, like paying. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember. Like buy-in, but like they're dumping money into the LGL.
Oh, it's like a venture, like a venture fund team.
A $46 million investment into Gen G esports, the Korean team, but yes. Helping like the LPL, the LGL, to like expand.
Really? For the LPL?
It's really weird because obviously
all of that was adding up until you said
Gen G, the Korean esports team, owned by a Chinese organization, right? And then
I think it's Chinese, at least like Chinese owned.
For some reason, I mean, I definitely read Gen G, but maybe the article meant somebody else. But it's meant to be for esports in Japan because obviously esports is huge in Korea and China, and I guess the neighboring like eastern regions. Japan is the only one that is not in on the esports scene. So I guess they're like, come on, man, please be fun, have some fun, play some esports with us.
I know Gen G is expanding, so both T1 or SKT T1, but T1 as a brand and is like partnering with Comcast and NA. They might be looking for a spot. That's a rumor, but Gen G is also hyper expanding. Gen G is actually pretty aggressive with their deals. Like they came into the scene, they bought out the old Samsung organization. They came up with what they thought was a good roster. I mean, it did make it to Worlds, and now get relegated.
No, they turned it around at the end of the season, right? Only just.
They only just they avoided it. It was KT and Jin.
Like
KT and Jin. KT.
Lost
oh Lord! Oh, I can't believe if you told me score BDD and Smeb. I don't care who the fuck you put in bot lane. I cannot believe that they got
this close to.
I mean, they 3-0'd relegations, but like, or 6-0, but like it doesn't matter. That's absurd. Like, can you imagine someone in promos like, we just won Challengers Korea. Let's like get our chance.
Play against Score. Just one of the best junglers of all time. Smeb, just arguably the best top laner that's never won anything. Wow, has Smeb won else?
And then BDD, who's still like a top mid laner in Korea, and they're like, well, okay then.
It's pretty unfortunate.
But
I mean, it's
unfortunate.
It's so. I mean, there's a reason they call KT Roster, right? Because it's a roller coaster being a fan. It's like, oh no.
They managed to do this in every game they play in throughout the history of their organization. I don't understand. Like in StarCraft, I'm like, I'm going to cheer for KT today. And they're like, no, thank you. Yeah, match fixing in Korean esports is a little bit of a sketchy topic, but yes, I think it's scripted too.
NA's got the script. The NA script is pretty much. I'm getting pretty tired of seeing the same teams in finals. Oh my god. Somebody please.
Yeah, like I mean, as a Team Liquid fan, I'm glad that Team Liquid finally started, like, broke the 3-team like chokehold on the top. But now they've won 3 in a row, and like, I'm happy for them. But I do wish that like FlyQuest was competitive, or like
Golden Guardians.
Okay, 100 Thieves was sort of exciting, and then they just.
I would have liked to see 100 Thieves do well. All Golden Guardians.
100 Thieves was the KT of our of NA, in my opinion. Like, you look at the roster, and like, besides Huki, like that roster looked pretty damn good.
Go back to Korea, please.
Yeah, please don't retire in NA. It would be a tragedy.
Someday, come on. We've got the mega bucks now.
You guys have good top laners, though. I don't think like anyone's gonna need to like sacrifice the language barrier for like a top laner, unless like which of the top teams needs a better top laner?
Rogue.
Like you guys have Capo, you have.
I think Rogue's not a top team.
Yeah, Rogue's not a top team. Soaz is still fine. Wonder is
Cabo's
amazing.
really
Cabo's
good.
really good. You still have Vizzy. Yeah, Alfari, like of the people we just said, Alfari might be the worst of them, and that's saying a lot. Like he's a great player, so I think that like someday might go to China or no, China's good top winners too. He might just go back to Korea.
Yeah,
they need him.
But yeah,
KT, well, Smeda is good too. KT doesn't necessarily need him, but somebody needs him. He needs a home
somewhere that isn't 100 Thieves. Or 100 Thieves seriously need to like get good because I really like their merch, so I want them to be a top team so that I'm wearing a winners brand.
I think it's exciting that you just have like a new team, like new blood, or well, they're not all new blood, but like they're a new team. They've got Nade Shot, they've got like that energy. Like they look okay. We have Clutch, and then we have 100 Thieves, like teams that like don't try at all.
I just think that it sucks because 100 Thieves on paper, like oh my god, what good players. I don't even think Huki's that bad. Like Huki did really good in CLG.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Was he just like?
The team has plenty of issues outside of it. It certainly speaks to my personal bias of that Bang is overrated. Like Bang's really good, but like certainly overrated. But that's it.
Let me get in on this train real quick. Ever since that one play he made on Lucian back in 2015 or 14 or 16, whichever time he was playing Lucian, there was like a Lulu on Faker. He just carried that game 1v9 on Lucian. Everyone's just been riding on him as the hyper carry god AD carry. I've always said that Bang, because I've watched Bang since he was like a rookie on SKTS. Like, I'm like, okay, you know, he's serviceable, he's solid, he's reliable. He is not one of the best AD carries in the world, not in any sense of the word. Unless you judge being the best as only results, and like, okay, you're on the team with Faker.
Just Korean.
Yeah,
you got Korean Reckless. You literally like same reason Reckless is like, oh dude, he's like really good. It's like, yeah, dude, the guy that picks Ken and AD carry and has X-Pack Ace, so as Caps, who ran over Forbidden when he was nuts. Like Yellow Star, this guy has like fantastic players around.
Yeah, like
Bang had the same.
Like not to like beat a dead horse, but like whenever Reckless is like considered the MVP of the league, like
sucks.
Fnatic has never won. Yeah, I mean like he's good. Bang is good. Reckless is good, but look at what happens when you just put him in an isolated environment without all the tools that support him up. Like he's just not. He has flashes of brilliance. His Ezreal's still clean. Like, but he's not a hyper carry top 380 carry in the world. He has never been, in my opinion. And you can quote me on this from like way back when. Like it's not because he's just doing bad now. I've always thought Bang was overrated. I thought that he was a good fit for SKT, but he was not a top 80 carry. Just please stop selling this. Like whoever his agent is a great agent because like he's making tons of money off that. It's all about the branding, but Bang needs like to really shape up, or they just need to find someone else for him.
I think it's
for
crazy
that role.
That team did as poorly as they did when they have Bang and Sunday on their team. Like, how do you even lose? Like, even if your teammates suck, even if Alpharomu is like washed and you've got Huhi in mid, like your jungler still exists as a player. Just have him go to one of the lanes, and you've got the best top laner in the league, or arguably the best AD carry in the league, as it should be. But no.
Right. I mean, they got rid of Meteos, which was, I think, not a great choice, but apparently he didn't gel with the team. So, like, yeah, you can't help that. Anda looked okay at the last couple of games at Worlds, so, like, you know, there's that. But, like, Anda has not looked like a jungler this season. I don't know how he does in scrims, but on stage, I was like, holy moly.
It's not great.
Yeah, and then Huki and Afro might have signed like a secret blood pact to just like end this season away.
CLG for life, dude. You gotta help get CLG
for life. They're looking at PoE's job right now and BioFrost's job.
God, CLG looked bad as well.
I mean, CLG. I mean, like PoE is literally. I don't know if you like PoE or not. I enjoy his play back in OG, and I enjoyed his play before that too. I thought that, like, you know, like, I don't care what you build on your characters. If you can get wins and you look effective, you build Nashor's Tooth all you want. I don't care.
Is OP. I'll tell you, like, it's at least different, and that can certainly build like an interesting brand. It's not like it was bad.
Yeah, and he won games. Like, people kept shitting on him. Like, I mean, it's working for him. Maybe he likes the attack speed style more.
It's micro, dude.
Maybe the math doesn't check out for flat DPS, but his micro was good, and poor PoE has been literally one game away from playoffs every splits, or not every split, the last two splits.
Optic, right? He couldn't have been, or maybe Optic wasn't that bad.
Well, no, Optic was 9-9 last summer split. They were 9-9, and they were the first 9-9 team to not make playoffs in the history of LCS. And then this year, the coach Weldon was like, you know what?
Weldon,
let's
go.
Let's just sub him out. I don't buy Weldon's stuff. I think he probably is effective for certain types of players, but I don't think he's a head coach material. I think he's like a sports psychologist almost. Well, he can't call himself a sports psychologist.
There's definitely merit, right? Like there's things that people can help with. Like coaches are the same. It's same as like having the right fit for your team and players. Stylistically, you got to have the right coach. So, I think that's like a thing. But also, we should probably wrap up because otherwise we're going to start talking about NA.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to think about was actually just what our like predictions are of the MSI patch as opposed to the teams, because I think that, I mean, we can predict the winner if we want, but I think the answer is just going to be IG.
Yeah, if we're going to be like unbiased and just predict, then it's probably IG. It's
necessarily as interesting as saying what we think that like maybe some of the patch changes like looking at MSI are and what champions we expect to see.
Yeah, so let's look at the 9.8 patch. I have the patch notes opened up right now, so I can just go through a couple like actual important ones, because like I'm sure Amumu probably won't show up. I'm gonna eat my words if he becomes the meta jungler.
I really hope he does, just because the tank meta.
Dude, the buffs are huge actually.
Really
I mean, like
tanks, dude. The Cinderhulk change came in. We're about to see loads of tanks. Amumu start like team fighting jungler. Let's go.
And think about it, Vladimir's meta, Akali's meta, and true pre-mitigation magic true dance. I would say it's possible, but outside of Amumu, Camille got some buffs. I think that Camille top is actually pretty decent right now. So for like Wonder, who's been insane on Camille top, even when Camille was not meta, no one was playing Camille. Wonder just literally solo carried. Now, of course, it's just a slight attack speed buff, but base attack speed is actually a huge deal because it multiplies.
Because you land quite a bit.
Yeah. So she can potentially survive a lot more matchups, and I've been seeing it in my Diamond games before, so I think it's possible. Cassie's buffs.
Cassiopeia changes were I don't want to
just some mana reduction or E, right?
The way that Cassiopeia is maxed right now, and the way it's kind of just a reminder to mid laners that she exists. Because it's like, she doesn't max the E, or she doesn't max the W right now, because it doesn't matter about the changes in its mana, because it doesn't really do anything, and pro players aren't going to stand in Charisma for that long. So it's just like, it just tones her down, or tones her up for like as a buff, without making her overpowered. But she's still kind of a strong mid laner. She just doesn't fit into what you need from your mid laner right now, because you read the
Although tanks are coming back, so she is decent against tanks.
It's another potential, like if we see lots of tanks, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Cassiopeia, although we're waiting till main stage to see champions like this, because I think that coming in the first set of groups, it's definitely going to be the meta we've seen from playoffs before, so we're still going to see the Zoe and the Akali and the playoffs
for sure
patch stuff.
And those are not good matchups for Cassie, at least not in my experience.
Zoe's horrible.
And then the next one's pretty big. It's Fiora. And I'm okay. I think Tencent literally like came down at the MSI organizers and they're like, well, China's been looking real hot recently, and we're very happy about that. The Shy gave us a little tip. He's like, Fiora buffs.
Because the skin just came out.
Please.
Get yourself.
The skin came out too.
No, indeed. And your Fiora buff, your Camille buff for your Camille skin as well. Let's go.
Oh my god, like a half second extra on the stun, 20 more damage on the riposte, which like isn't insane, but 110 at rank 1, which is like, it's a rank 1 ability. You don't max it until last. And then Blade Work, her E reset, which does the crit, is at 40 mana at all ranks, down from 40 to 60, scaling up. So it's sizable, honestly. Fiora has mana problems, so I could see that being enough against certain matchups to like let players like the Shy pull it out, or players like Khan pull it out.
The top lane players are going to be very excited to see Fiora, and the Fiora stun. Oh my god, it feels bad. It feels so bad right now. Getting like hit by it, you're just like, oh my god, I'm now just stuck for 2 seconds. It's like Nautilus auto attacked me. Like, it's a very long stun, and that's more than enough time for a pro player to just not 100 to 0 to you, but win lane.
Yeah, like Nautilus got buffed, and like I think first of all, before we get to Nautilus, I think he's going to be probably played. We just don't know where, but he's not going to be played in top if Fiora is still left up. You got 0.25 seconds added to your root at rank 1. She got a stun that literally lets her proc her full ult before you can move.
What, 2.25 seconds in total?
It's 1.5 to 2 seconds. God. It's 2 seconds flat at every rank now.
It just feels like a lifetime. It's
yeah, you're like sitting on top, like, what did I ever do to deserve this?
She's got the Morgana binding of top lane stuns.
Yeah, it's insane. And like Repulse isn't that hard for pro players to hit on no ping. Like the Shy was playing Fiora before she was even any good at Worlds last year too. I mean, okay, granted they didn't win that game 3 against KT, but he almost carried that game. It was one auto.
2?
Or 2. 2 autos, yeah. So Fiora could, I think I'm predicting, and I think we are in agreement that Fiora will probably show up.
Like, there's no way that I don't see like a Camille Fiora matchup somewhere.
Yeah, I mean it would be insane. Like it's showy, it's nice. You got the IG skins. I don't know if they're allowed to play them. I assume they are.
You gotta sell your skins.
Right. I mean,
one of the MSI patch so that people are reminded that they can buy these new flashy skins.
I mean, they're nice skins. I wish the faces were a little different. Like, I'm repeating Reddit a bit, but I do like the skin designs. I think they're insane.
I think it's the hair. I think the hair color shouldn't be blonde on every one of them. Like, I think
why are they all blonde? Like, IG's colors are black and white, and they just a bunch of blondes.
Fiora, some dark hair. It looked great. Like, what?
Like, Fiora's, like, traditional hair is red, too, and you can do, like, the whole red and black thing. I don't know.
So maybe we can have an entire show about dumpstering the skin development team, because that's despite they're good.
Oh my god.
I don't have that kind of money.
I want to get real quick. I want to get Prestige Evelyn. I love Evelyn, but I looked at what I need to do to get Evelyn. I was like,
no thanks.
There's no way, right? Like 13. It's like $100+. I'm like, wait, this isn't an EA game. Anyways, moving on. Gnar, he got a huge buff to his ult cooldown, but if you've ever played Gnar before, it's actually kind of not that big of a deal. Like it's nice. Like it's like 30 seconds off rank 1, 40 off rank 2, 50 off rank 3. But I don't know.
I don't think it's as huge as it seems. I don't because you have to have like it's considering the Gnar is only up at certain windows anyway, thanks to Gnar bar. Its cooldown is not as important, like because you're balancing around the cooldown when you use your Gnar bar. It's not really like it's not like, oh my god, I can't wait.
Unless if they buff Gnar bar cooldown, then this would be insane. But unless it's like maybe outside of like Impact, who loves Gnar and has shown up in Gnar before, I just don't see any reason to pick Gnar right now over all the other meta tops. So Jin's a little better, but
too weak of an
again
to sit in the meta right now.
Yeah. Oh, for Kayle though, do you think Kayle will still be played? I talked about this on another show before, but
so minor regions.
I'm a little bit on the fence.
I've seen ban and play Kayle quite frequently in their 9.6 playoffs, but I don't think that based on how adaptation tends to work on between scrims, they usually pick up from like top teams and it trickles down instead of the other way. So unless some of these minor regions are just dumpstering people with Kayle, like flat out, then I don't see Kayle like slowly transitioning into other teams, because right now nobody plays, no one in a major region plays Kayle, and even then, if they do, she's gonna go top lane, not mid, and I don't think that Kayle's laning is that good. Maybe teams that are weak, like I don't mean teams that are weak early, so teams that want to get to that late game scaling, look at Kayle and go, oh, she's kind of like Rise or Vayne, where she gets really late and we kind of have a pretty easy potential to win the game. So I do think that she can be picked up by teams that are late game focused, but you would never see like Wonder on Kayle. You would never want to see the Shy on Kayle. So
please don't.
So I don't think that we're gonna see her very frequently. I definitely think she could be in like a handful of games though.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at that attack speed ratio nerf, and like it's so big when you nerf a base attack speed because of how much it hurts their like late game. So I'm like not sure if she'll be even worth the risk, because like you look at players like the Shy who gets like 10 CS leads on Vladimir versus Jace, and you're thinking to yourself, what is he gonna do to a Kale player from like a not a minor region, but like if like Impact picks Kale or
It's not going to be good. You're going to sit there like 15, 25 CS down, probably just dead because Kale's laning sucks. Like,
yeah, she's literally not a champion. I mean, in some
so
matchups,
much pressure to top side if you're playing around Kale. And like again, if we continue to see Aurelia, Akali, and like these like a carry solo laners, then Kale can't be picked. And if you do see tank top laners, then yeah, Kale can be picked in those matchups. But she'd have to be like the very specific notion that the tanks are already picked for the solo laners. Then you go down like late game into the draft, assuming she's not banned, and then go, oh, we can pick Kale for our like counter pick top laner into like what? I'm trying to think like what top team is going to pick like a tank top. Like it's just not going to happen, because even with tanks being strong, these carry teams are still going to pick carry like champions until they're forced off them.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever actually played against a Kale, hard CC is actually quite a hard thing for her to deal with. Like she does dish out a lot of damage when she's not being focused, but like either if you burst her quickly and force her into her ult instantly, then she can't do much. Or if you just lock her up, the CC still goes through her ult. So I think it does. At least.
I assume so. That would be crazy if it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, only Black Shield should be able to mitigate. And anyways, I'm pretty sure it does because Tarek still gets CC too. But anyways, other than Kale, there's Kayn. I mean, the Kayn buff was massive for Shadow King. Ning is a Kayn player. Like he's known for picking Kayn just like random like games, and he's a very good Kayn player. I don't know if Clid plays it or anyone else plays it. I've never seen Kayn in pro play in like the last year or so. But they did lower his cooldown to 8 seconds from 21 at rank 1, and it's 8 seconds at all ranks. So
I think that Kayn. Thing is that Kayn's like not bad at any point in the meta right now. Like Red Kayn and Blue Kayn are both really strong.
Yeah, they both are good now.
Is that, you know, you look at the other champions that are picked and you think about how pro player works and like the way that pro player uses vision. And Kayn's strongest point is that he like comes from he's Zoe of jungle in the aspect of he's looking for these angles to find like where Zoe is hiding out on side lanes and throwing sleepy bubble trouble. Kayn is like, oh, let me just walk through this wall and just like woof and kill somebody straight through. There's absolutely like no way you're going to see these strange flanks unless, again, maybe in the minor regions or potentially from the minor regions against better teams because they're, you know, being relatively disrespectful. But like Red Kayn is strong, really good, but I don't see how he's going to like. He's not an excellent team fighter. Kayn's a pick champion, and given the team fight meta right now, I'm not really sure that he's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Red Kayn could handle tanks to some extent too, a lot better than most meta junglers. But unless they're playing a cheese strat, like, you know, like think like Gigabyte Marines, Nocturne level 6 Levi sort of thing. Like if you play around Shadow Assassin Kayn, and I play a little bit of Kayn, you play Shadow Assassin Kayn, you could smother the enemy jungler, like counter jungler, like run circles around them if you get ahead. But you have to get to that point, and pro teams like just they don't fight enough to like get the consistent evolutions. Like you can't bank on it. So I would predict that a minor region team might pick it if they're like jungle center, but I just don't think it's good enough yet for pro play. It just doesn't fill the niche right now.
I'd agree.
Do you want to talk about really quickly what junglers you think are meta?
So I guess coming into this patch, the biggest one that we've mentioned probably like 7 times now is Nautilus coming in. The Nautilus changes are really big. The Cinderhulk changes that help jungle clear are really big. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sejuani again. Her W changes for damage alongside Cinderhulk clear
are insane.
The main reason the tank junglers aren't in the meta right now, or previously in the last couple of patches, was not necessarily that they were bad. Their clear was a little bit weak, but their clear isn't their weak point. It's how jungle XP was changed so that now ganking is like more rewardable, but you have to be successful. So successful ganks give you more XP, and the XP, like the between the crab exchange and then finding the early ganks, you push yourself so far ahead, and then you just dictate the pressure of the jungle, and that's it. But changes now, thanks to having like reasonable clear, like the edges aren't that big on ganking, so now you can probably get a reasonable clear into fighting. This means that Sejuani being like top tier again is a potential, as well as I don't think Rek'Sai might even change. I think Rek'Sai might just move into Cinderhulk and still be as relevant as she was, because the champion. I mean, granted, I guess you're losing the edge of like Rek'Sai's. Oh, I'm gonna be kind of damage orientated,
one-shotting you.
but
Yeah.
what she offers, like people are so used to playing Rek'Sai right now that I wouldn't be super surprised to see her still in the meta, just as a tank version. I think Jarvan could still fit that tank version with Aftershock. So
yeah, Jarvan can always build
I
the
don't think
center
that
Hulk
Jarvan
too.
Rek'Sai are necessarily going away. But we'll find, as per usual, there's only usually 2 junglers that sit in the counter rotation, and then like 2 other junglers underneath them that are played when other junglers are banned out. So right now it's Jarvan Rek'Sai, Olaf Nocturne. I reckon that maybe we'll like one of the changes from Olaf Nocturne might be move Jarvan Rek'Sai down. We see Nautilus, we see Sejuani, maybe we see.
I think Hecarim may come in too.
Hecarim's still a top laner right now, but I wouldn't
That's
be
a flex.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a flex
true.
for some teams. I mean, he was played in, was it the TSMTL series where he was played jungle?
Yeah, he was played.
Yeah,
he was played.
No,
top,
Arcadian played him as jungle. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, jungle. He played jungle like game 2 or something. You're right.
Particularly like Conqueror Hecarim.
I try to forget all the Team Liquid losses.
The Conqueror Hecarim is like the strongest iteration, and I don't think that in the jungle he really wants to take Conqueror, because Predator's just so much better for getting like your pathing down and just being able to like put priority on. And Hecarim's really weak if he doesn't get both crabs, because he has mana problems. So he like, and you know, his early game is like not like that strong, so he needs a team to form around him. You have to have like a good jungler to play that. Obviously, we know Xmithy played Skarner. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Skarner in as well, because
yeah, I mean, Cinderhulk is huge for him.
Cinderhulk buffs come through, and Skarner gets some good clear. Skarner got general buffs in terms of the vision game, where you can't track the. Oh no, that was actually a nerf, right? That you can't track the enemy jungler with the vision. Yeah, that was a nerf.
Well, it's a buff and a nerf. It means that you can counter jungle without being spotted, but it also means they can get you without being spotted. So I think overall it's better for Skarner, because it means that Skarner has options, but it just means you can't be like, oh, he's in my top jungle right now, sort of thing. So I think it's better for Skarner as a Skarner player myself, but Xmithy has his Sedge and his Skarner that are potentially viable now, which is big. I mean, he's good on Sedge,
especially considering it's like, haha, dude, Xmithy Sejuani, but it's like, yeah, dude, but also like, the reason he picked Sejuani is because he was winning all those games. The ultimate is actually, it's not that easy to hit. It's a really weird hitbox. It's like that much of the hitbox when it's like.
It really is. I honestly miss the old Sejuani ult. That was my favorite, one of my favorite ults to use.
I guess the thing to take out of this is that I wouldn't expect to see Nocturne. A lot of minor regions were playing Lee Sin. Again, in the early like stages of the tournament, I will expect to see some Lee Sin, but that'll fall off.
You think Clid won't pick it anymore? He still played it throughout most of playoffs. It's like one of his top 3 ever.
That it's Clid, right? So it's SK. It's literally just a jungler he'll pick whatever he wants. But moving into the best of 5, I wouldn't be surprised to see him like drop it just out of the necessity for his team. But then again, it could also be very easily banned out, given that like it's literally just going to be him and the jungler from, is it PvP? Let me find out. I've got to tell you if they played it.
Meliodas?
I believe, he played Lee Sin. He played a pretty decent Lee Sin. This might be the only 2 players.
Yeah, I think it's probably just like a player-specific pick, and I don't think it's going to be like turning meta.
Will Kindred come through? No. I hope not.
If you ever play against like a good Sejuani as Kindred, you're like, well, I can't duel her, like, because my damage is a little too low early game. My ganks are worse, and my scaling is comparable but less reliable. So I can't see Kindred coming through as a meta pick. Maybe like Ning pulled out Kindred game 5 or something, or game 4 of the KT series, so he could play it randomly. Conquer is good on her, so I don't know. I don't think it's going to be meta though. It's too specific of a pick to be meta, because unless her stats are insane, there's no reason for like a non like Kindred main style jungler to pick her, because she's so hard to execute on and her pathing is so weird.
It's just like, it's thing is that her ult is really good for this team fight meta of like, oh, like teams are gonna engage with Kennen or Vlad, and then you just ult and you're like, oh, guess what? None of it happened. But like again, the presence that she lacks as a jungler in the early game is so important for gaining early like Dragon and Rift Herald right now, which is just the meta of we're just dictated by objectives, which as opposed to solo kills, like if you don't get Rift Herald and then it's used well against you, you just kind of find yourself at like a 3k deficit, and you're like, uh-oh.
Like maybe they'll run back like a Zillion Kindred comp, like someone will run that because it is still very powerful.
Team Liquid,
Team Liquid can run it. Yeah, like Smithy can play Kindred. It's not my favorite pick of his, but he can play Kindred, and obviously we have a good Zillion player, and you can just like run Vladimir or GP or a hyper carry bot lane.
Like Heist wasn't that good.
I mean, he played okay after laning phase, but honestly, I'm watching this man have flash up with an Akali coming out. I'm like, what are you waiting for? I don't even know if he pulled in that fight. I just like he gets solo killed, and I'm just like, oh my god. He had the media syndrome. He was learning Vlad through the 40 minutes.
I played Vlad. I'll figure it out. Don't worry. I'm a world champion. You know, I can get there.
Yeah, I mean, well, and even if the Vlad is up, I mean, there's like Faker who still can get it, Rookie who can still get like. Oh man, we get to see Faker, Rookie. I can't wait for the MSI show. Anyways,
I think that the rest of the they're looking at like the mid to bot side. I don't think the bot lane is going to change that much. I actually expect the support picks to be pretty much exactly the same. With Tom Kench and
maybe Nautilus.
Tom Kench, potentially Nautilus, because Nautilus kind of fits into that like niche of tank support.
He's currently the #1 played Korean support, like the highest pick rate and one of the highest win rates.
So it definitely has to come through.
He didn't need buffs, but it's fine.
And I'm like, oh, I mean, okay, then, like I guess that's a reasonable buff. And then 9.8, they're like, oh yeah, also just his Q just kills you now, and also his auto attack just you walk away from the computer.
If you look at his kit, his AP ratios also in mid are actually insane. Like he actually has a huge amount of AP ratio. It's like 0.9, 0.9, 0.4 on the W. Like it's just like why?
Why not though?
I pick him in mid lane, and I picked him before the buffs because I didn't know the buffs were happening. I just like stomp assassins, like Zed players getting dunked on, Fizz players getting dunked on. My friends are like, Kevin, is that in a pick? I'm like, yes, it's really good. And then they put the patch notes out, like, we're buffing Nautilus AP. I'm like, why?
But
and they also added base damage to the hook. I don't know. Who's doing the balance? I'll never know. He just wants to see chaos.
To be fine.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the support is again maybe a little change. AD carry should have literally no changes. Like Jhin, there's no Jhin mains that I know of at this tournament. Like maybe we'll see Draven, which we haven't been seeing outside of the minor region.
For a lot of regions as well, like permaban. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him still on the ban.
Yeah, like I could always see IG pick it up, for example. I mean, Jackie Love would love to play Draven. Mid lane should be the same. Like the balance changes. I mean, Zed wasn't being played anyways. I don't even think the Zed nerfs were huge, except for the fact that tanks are back. So like Zed just like by nature of the meta will be even more phased out. I mean, I would love to see Faker Zed versus like Rookie LeBlanc or something, but
one could only hope.
Yeah, we'll probably see LeBlanc. We'll probably see Akali. We'll see
Aurelia,
Ryze, Zoe, Aurelia.
Lasan, I think
potentially rare Lissandra
still.
Yeah, I still think it's possible.
Yeah. And then probably I think people.
Yeah, maybe an occasional Corki, but that's all I can think of off meta.
Probably.
Yeah, and then the last role to talk about is top lane, and then I think that's it for the meta.
Think, the one prediction I want to make is for some reason, I have an itching suspicion that one team is going to pick Leona for one game. I think I'm going to see a Leona pick one Leona game in MSI, because given the state of like the way that the tanks are, actually there's one support pick we also forgot, but given the state of the tank support coming in, or even just general tanks, Leona is just one of the best tanks like in the game in terms of what you want to get. So you're going to see a draft rotation where like lots of tanks are banned out or picked, so they're like, oh, there's no one we can pick, and then that team will pick Leona, and they'll be like, oh my god, how did we forget? And then Leona's nuts. Trundle, we also forgot Trundle, because Trundle support
the buffs too
as well is my idea for that at least.
Yeah, it's going to buff his base damage by that much.
I mean, you know, Galio comes in, Pillar get lost, Tom Kench runs away. Pillar, I actually think Pillar cancels Tom Kenchel.
Yes, it's a channel disruption.
Granted, you're not gonna. I think it's very unlikely that you see Tom Kench ult like out of a fight, but it's still there. The player potential for what he offers is still there. So
right,
channel support coming in as well is an expectation.
Yeah, and I remember Balin picked Leona at Worlds last year,
It
and I
was
think
I think the last time was it not Misfits versus SKT in that best of 5 at like All Stars or something.
well that also no that was Worlds. It was best of 5 quarterfinals of Worlds 2017 because it was the one where Misfits almost won with they pick like Blitzcrank, they pick like
Feather
no
Leona.
it was
Yeah, he
Ignar picked
Feather
Leona,
Leona.
not oh my god, yeah, it was holy shit. That was I wanted
Me
Misfits
too.
to win that. Like I like SKT
Misfits
a
were
lot, but like that was the year I was
they
like Misfits
earned this,
deserve
and
this.
oh, it was so close. Disappointing.
Yeah, and then the RNG match would have been sick too. I feel like old esports men now, but do you think Tarek Sona is going to be played? Because there's a lot of
I
talk
do,
about Tarek
if
Sona.
only again from the start of the start of the like the group stages. Just given that the meta takes a while to try and like it changes between each group, I think that Tarek Sona will still be considered a priority at the start. I don't know if playing groups are going to play them because I didn't see any Tarek Sona in any of the games.
Yeah, I saw none of it, and
not
no
even a
ban, or at least not a lot of bans.
I didn't see any bans towards it, so I think that it'll start off, and maybe Liquid might play it in one of their games, but I don't expect to see it by the end of the tournament.
Do you think Korea will ever play it? I mean, they were playing like Talia Pantheon when they were
seemingly just they go, you know what, like Tarek Sona, that's not cheese enough. Their cheese is like all the way over here. Like that.
I'm like sitting there watching the finals, expecting Tarek Sona back and forth, and then I see Talia. I'm like, okay. I see Pan. I'm like,
Tarek Sona makes too much sense. The sustained. Who cares for that? I'd rather. Pantheon, like playing Pantheon bot lane is literally like, oh, dude, I just don't actually want to play League of Legends. Like, I just want to stun somebody and then that's it.
Like, are you really cheesing if you have a late game insurance with that comp? Like,
so dumb.
I also to be Lehenz's Pantheon, he like legitimately some of those ults were
great.
As someone who plays Pantheon in the jungle, I'm like, you do realize there's like a wind up time for the ult, right? Like
hit them with it, right? You don't.
Yeah, you see them running away. Like, okay, I guess I'll click where they were 4 seconds ago. You know,
them, dude. Don't worry, I'm coming in. 4 seconds later, I missed.
Yeah, I could see like a cheese win off of a Tark Sun off of a Korea game, maybe once.
I mean, they'll have seen it in scrims, but then, I imagine that there'll be times where they'll draft against them. They'll just be like, they'll be like, oh, we can deal with it, it's fine. And then they get to the late game team fighting, and then that actually might be a point against SKT. That could be a potential where they lose, because obviously SKT like to play into the late because they're just fantastic players.
Yeah,
but you just
don't beat
it. Like, it doesn't matter who's on the Tarek Sona. You don't beat that late game. You cannot. The team fighting is too good. How do you do damage to somebody that's invulnerable? Doesn't happen. Think
r/Korean advice, just don't do damage to them.
So that could be it.
I mean, like, I honestly, like, I've played like Hecarim in those comps or Kindred or Yi, and like those champions just feel insane. Like we once put down a Tarek Sona down like 13 kills in lane, and we're like, okay, we're up 13-0, and we almost lost that game. So
it's just, I mean, it's insurance policy, right? It's like, oh, dude, maybe we lose, but
I'm actually super surprised they didn't nerf either side of it, or something about the combo, because it's a lot of it's off Frostfang too. But like, I guess they didn't want to shake it up before MSI.
That we'll know if we're going to see Tarek Sona or not, because Tarek will be a 100% ban rate coming into the tournament at the start. Like the first couple of bans, people will just be banning Tarek for no reason. Like first side ban will be Tarek. Then we'll know if it's being played or not through scrims. But I think that's everything we got. We've went on for quite a bit, so there's a lot to talk about. To be fair, I mean, so you know, and we like to reminisce of the esports of old.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I've got anything to plug, like a Twitter or something? Because I suppose that.
No, I'm just I'm just a esports fanatic. I love watching all the regions, just trying to get my experience in these talk shows. I really like doing this with you. I don't have any like social media. I probably should work on like Twitter and stuff like that, but I just never got into it. I feel like an old man. But yeah, just check me out here. You can check both of us out on our future shows that we'll probably be doing together, as well as on
the other podcasts, the stuff that we do together, the All In podcast, and then
I said you will be.
I suppose we'll be back. When does MSI start? 1st of May. So So
May 1st, yeah,
we'll
that's
do.
plans.
I reckon we'll do a show after the first week. We'll just do
I'm
like
down.
gradually as the tournament goes through. There's no point in waiting through it all. It's almost like a month-long goddamn tournament.
It's like 3 weeks
so we
to a
might
month,
as well
something
do one
like
every
that.
week for that. And then of course,
I was like looking at the schedule. I was like, really
it's a bit
though?
ridiculous, but yeah. All right, guys. So
I mean,
we'll see you in like a week and a half. I think something like that.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
All right.